My name is Alexa Sutton. I was sitting in the hospital waiting room, still wearing the same clothes from an 18-hour stakeout, when my cousin Lauren walked up and remarked, "Well, at least you look normal for once, instead of dressed like some TV detective." The TV detective jab was nothing new. For the last 12 years, my family had treated my work as a homicide detective like it was some childish fantasy I'd eventually outgrow. To them, I was just pretending to be a cop in a small town department where nothing significant ever happened. While they built thriving careers in finance and tech, I was always the odd one out. But today wasn't about careers. Today, my grandmother was dying, and everyone had gathered at Mercy General to say goodbye. What they didn't realize was that I hadn't slept in 36 hours, not because I was careless or dramatic, but because I had just closed the biggest case of my career, one that would hit national headlines within the hour. "Alexis, honey," my Aunt Patricia said as she approached with that pitying smile she'd perfected over the years. "Your mother was just telling us about your latest little adventure. Something about sleeping in your car all night. Sweetheart, when will you admit this police thing isn't working out?" The police thing. 12 years of investigating murders, catching killers, and dealing with cases that would haunt most people's dreams, dismissed as a thing. "I wasn't camping," I answered softly. "I was running surveillance." "Same thing," Lauren laughed, sliding into the chair next to me. "Mom, remember how Alexis used to play with those detective kits as a kid? Some people just never grow up." My mother, Helen, looked embarrassed. "Well, she's always been creative." "Creative," my Uncle Robert cut in, his voice full of banker's authority. "Let's call it what it is. Alexis has been playing make-believe for more than a decade. She's 41, living in a studio apartment, driving a 10-year-old Honda, pretending she's solving serious crimes in a town where the biggest emergency is usually a fender bender." The studio apartment wasn't a failure. It was intentional. I spent so little time there that paying for more space seemed pointless. The old Honda, with its 200,000 miles, was perfect for surveillance since a flashy car would only draw attention. But I knew explaining that would just earn me more smug comments about my dramatic lifestyle. "The truth is," Patricia added, "we're just worried about her future. She's not getting younger, she has no savings, no stable career outside of this police fantasy. What's she going to do when reality finally sets in?" What none of them knew was that my apartment had been paid for in cash. My savings account held more than most of them earned in a year, and in the last 18 months, 3 different federal agencies had tried to recruit me. But I'd learned a long time ago that explaining the truth only made them more convinced I was living in a fantasy world. My phone buzzed with a text from my captain. "Press conference at 6 p.m. Media is going crazy. Be ready for attention." I silenced the phone and looked around the waiting room at the faces of my extended family, successful, respectable, and united in their belief that I was the family's disappointment. The cousin who dropped out of college to play police. The daughter who never lived up to expectations. The sister lost in her own fantasy, pretending she mattered. "You know what I'll never understand," my brother Michael said to our father. "Why she refuses to consider other options. I could get her an entry-level job at my firm. She's smart enough if she'd just stop pretending to be some kind of super detective." Super detective. If only he understood. A doctor appeared at the doorway. "Sutton family. Mrs. Eleanor Sutton is asking for everyone to come in. She doesn't have much time." We all shuffled into my grandmother's room, 23 relatives squeezing around the frail woman who had raised half of us. Grandma Eleanor had always been my rock, my fiercest supporter, the only one who never questioned my career path. "My children," she whispered, her voice soft and fading. "I'm proud of all of you. Michael with his business, Patricia with her law firm, Lauren with her marketing company." She went through each of their accomplishments. Then, when her eyes landed on me, she smiled. "And my Alexis, my brave Alexis, who protects people." "She tries, Mom," my father said gently. "She does her best." The meaning was clear. Trying wasn't the same as succeeding. Grandma's weak hand squeezed mine. "You're going to be famous one day, sweetheart. I can feel it." Around the room, family exchanged knowing looks, the kind that said, "Poor Grandma. She's losing her mind," feeding into Alexis's fantasies. But just then, my phone buzzed again. A text from the FBI liaison. Media requests from CNN, Fox, NBC. It's spreading nationwide. I excuse myself, pretending to give others time with her, but really stepping into the hall to check my messages. The headlines already made my stomach twist. CNN's banner read, "Serial killer captured. 3-year manhunt ends 12-state murder spree." Beneath it, Detective Alexis Sutton of Millbrook PD led the investigation that brought down Thomas Henley, suspected in 23 murders across 12 states. The arrest followed an 18-hour surveillance operation, ending at 4 a.m. this morning. Immediately, my phone lit up with calls. CNN Newsroom flashed on the screen. I declined, scrolling through more breaking stories. Small-town detective cracks case that stumped FBI. Female detective tracks serial killer for 3 years. The Millbrook Miracle. How one cop caught America's most wanted. This was about to get messy. I slipped back into Grandma's room where relatives were sharing stories and taking turns holding her hand. Uncle Robert was in the middle of bragging about his latest real estate deal when my phone rang again. "Alexis, turn that off," my mother hissed. "This isn't the time for your police work." I silenced it, but texts kept flooding in. Then Lauren's phone rang. Then Patricia's. Then Michael's. "What on earth?" Michael muttered, staring at his screen. 17 missed calls from reporters. Lauren looked up, baffled. Someone from the Washington Post just texted me asking for an interview about my cousin, the detective. The room went silent, except for the beeping monitors. Patricia's phone buzzed. She answered automatically. "Hello, what?" "No, you must have the wrong, wait. Detective Alexis Sutton? That's my niece." Her voice trailed off as she listened. "She did what?" Every eye turned toward me. I stayed seated by Grandma's side, still holding her fragile hand, wondering how to respond. "Alexis," Patricia said carefully, phone pressed to her ear. "This reporter says you've been tracking a serial killer for 3 years and you finally arrested him?" "I can't comment on ongoing cases," I said softly. Michael was scrolling fast on his phone. "Oh my God, Alexis, you're on CNN's front page." The room exploded. Relatives pulled out devices, reading headlines aloud. 23 murders, a 3-year hunt. She worked with the FBI. They're calling her a hero. Uncle Robert, eyes glued to his tablet, read out. Detective Sutton's meticulous investigation linked murders across 12 states, building the profile that led to Henley's capture. He looked up at me, stunned. "Alexis, is this true?" Before I could answer, my phone rang again. This time it was my captain. "I have to take this," I muttered, stepping into the hallway. "Where the hell are you, Sutton?" Captain Williams's voice was frantic. "Every major news outlet is blowing up the station. The FBI wants a joint press conference. The mayor's demanding updates. And the story leaked before we could control it. I'm at the hospital, Cap. My grandmother's dying." A pause. "Jesus, Alexis. I'm sorry. But listen, this is big. The FBI is calling it one of the most successful serial killer takedowns in recent history." Through the glass, I could see my family huddled around their phones, still buzzing with headlines about me. "How long until the press conference?" I asked. 2 hours. "But, Alexis, you need to understand. This is going to be massive. National coverage. Book deals. Everything." My life was about to turn upside down. When I walked back into the room, everything had changed. The usual pitying stares were gone, replaced by silence, shock, and something I had never seen from them before. Respect. "Alexis," my father said carefully, "we've been reading about this case. Is it true? You're the one who caught him." "Yes," I answered. "The FBI confirmed it. I connected things they completely overlooked. They called my work exceptional." I sat down beside Grandma, who had been listening quietly with a proud little smile. "How long were you working on this?" Michael asked. 3 years, 2 months, and 16 days. "And you never told us?" "You never asked," I replied. "Every time I tried, you dismissed it. Said it was make-believe, dress up, or just fantasy." The room grew still, except for phones buzzing with alerts. Lauren read from her screen. The suspect, Thomas Henley, evaded capture across 12 states. Detective Sutton identified links between unrelated murders, building the profile that led to his arrest. She looked up, stunned. "Alexis, It says you're the reason they got him. The FBI couldn't crack it. But you did. They were working different leads, I explained. I had access to details they didn't. I hadn't slept in 36 hours when I tracked him down. That's why I looked so disheveled when I walked in. I came straight from the arrest. Patricia kept reading. Detective Sutton is expected to receive commendations from both state and federal agencies. She stared at me with awe. This is incredible. It's my job, I said. No, Uncle Robert cut in firmly. This isn't just a job. This is extraordinary. None of us realized. My phone rang again, this time from the Justice Department. Detective Sutton, this is Deputy Attorney General Morrison's office. The Attorney General wants to personally speak with you about the Henley case. Would you be available this afternoon? I'm at the hospital with my dying grandmother, I said softly. Of course. Please accept our condolences. When you're available, the Attorney General would like to discuss potential federal roles. Your work on this case has been remarkable. When I returned, Grandma was awake, smiling through the noise. Famous, she whispered. I told you. Grandma, how did you know? Because I listened when you spoke. Everyone else heard police work and thought parking tickets. I heard my granddaughter talking about hunting monsters. The rest of the family clustered in groups, reading articles about my case. She connected murders across 12 states, one whispered. The FBI worked with her, another said. It says, she has one of the highest closure rates in the nation. My mother came over, her face red. Alexis, honey, I owe you an apology. We all do. I never realized how important your work really was. It's always been important, Mom. You just never believed it. But why didn't you share cases like this with us? I tried. Last Christmas, I started telling you about the Patterson case. You said I was being too dramatic, that nobody wanted police stories at dinner. She winced. The Patterson case? Another murder. Double homicide. Solved it by linking evidence from 3 separate crime scenes. But you changed the subject to Lauren's new marketing contract. The room went quiet as the weight of it sank in. Michael finally said, Alexis, I've been an ass about your career for years. I'm sorry. Yes, you have, I said. This article says you make more money than I thought possible for a detective. I do. And you live in that studio because I'm rarely home. I spend my time chasing cases, or in hotels when I'm on leads. Lauren looked up. There's a whole article about female detectives, and you're featured as one of the most successful in the country. Alexis, you're actually famous. I'm not famous. I'm just good at my job. Same thing, she said. Just then, I got a text from a well-known true crime publisher. Would you write a book about the Henley case? Mid-6-figure advance. Grandma squeezed my hand one last time. I'm proud of you, my brave detective, she whispered. She passed away 20 minutes later, surrounded by family who finally understood what she always had, that I wasn't pretending. I was exactly who I claimed to be. 3 days later, at her funeral, FBI agents served as pallbearers. The governor spoke. Families of victims came to thank me. News cameras stayed at a respectful distance. At the reception, Lauren pulled me aside. Remember when I said you looked normal for once, instead of like a TV detective? I remember. I was wrong. You don't look like a TV detective. She gestured around the room, full of federal agents and prosecutors. TV detectives look like you. As she walked away, Uncle Robert approached. I've been thinking about what you said, about us never asking. I'm asking now. What's it really like doing what you do? I looked around at the agents I'd worked with, the families who'd found closure, my own family finally seeing me for who I was. It's exactly what I always told you, I said. I catch the people who hurt others. I uncover truth when no one else can. I make sure justice is done. He nodded slowly. And we never listened. No, I said. But Grandma did. And in the end, that was what mattered. 6 months later, I was promoted to lieutenant, offered positions with both the FBI and U.S. Marshals. My book about the Henley case became a bestseller. Family gatherings were different now, less dismissive, more curious. But the biggest change was inside me. I'd stopped needing their approval long ago. What truly mattered were the families I helped, the colleagues who valued my expertise, and the certainty that I was exactly where I belonged, hunting monsters and uncovering truth in a world desperate for both. The girl who once played with toy detective kits hadn't grown out of her dreams. She had grown into them,